Every student preparing for the ACT faces a familiar mix of pressure and opportunity. The ACT isn't just a test, it's a gateway. Colleges consider it a benchmark, a way to gauge readiness. Performing well can open doors to scholarships, preferred programs, and competitive universities. But reaching that level requires strategy, discipline, and clarity. The test is standardized, which means predictable, and predictability allows for preparation. Understanding the format of each section, English, math, reading, science, and the optional writing, gives any student a measurable advantage. The first step isn't solving problems, it's recognizing patterns. In the English section, for instance, most errors are rooted in punctuation, sentence structure, and usage. Once these rules are internalized, the section becomes less about content and more about spotting errors efficiently. There's no need to overanalyze the passages. Time is limited. Trusting the rules, rather than personal instinct, saves minutes and avoids second-guessing. With practice, students begin to predict the kinds of grammar questions that will appear. Math, on the other hand, demands not just skill but recall. The test spans algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and basic statistics. Memorizing key formulas and understanding how to apply them is essential. But more important is pacing. Getting stuck on one problem can cost points elsewhere. If a question seems too complex at first glance, mark it, move on, return later. Prioritizing easier problems builds momentum. Confidence feeds performance. Reading comprehension isn't about reading every word. It's about scanning for structure, identifying the main idea, and understanding the author's tone. Often, the answer choices themselves reveal where to look. Most questions aren't testing literary interpretation, they're checking for comprehension and evidence-based reasoning. Knowing this transforms the passage from a challenge into a tool. Use the questions to guide where and how to read. Science, while often intimidating, is the most misunderstood. It doesn't test scientific knowledge, it tests interpretation. Charts, graphs, and experiments dominate the section. It rewards those who can process data quickly. There's no benefit in overthinking. Read the first question, find the graph it refers to, locate the pattern, move on. The less time spent reading the passage in full, the better. It's a puzzle, not a lecture. The optional writing test is a separate skill. It's about constructing an argument, using logic, examples, and structure. The key is clarity. A strong introduction, 2 clear body paragraphs with contrasting perspectives, and a conclusion are enough. Overcomplicating it weakens the impact. The scoring focuses more on structure and development than on creativity or vocabulary. Precision matters more than style. Ultimately, mastering the ACT isn't about mastering knowledge, it's about mastering the test itself. The most successful students don't know more, they practice better. They train under timed conditions, review their mistakes, refine their strategies, and repeat. There are no shortcuts, but there is efficiency. With focused preparation, the ACT becomes less of an obstacle and more of a stepping stone toward opportunity. Colleges weigh ACT scores because they provide a standardized measure in an otherwise varied academic landscape. GPA can fluctuate depending on school policies, teacher standards, or district rigor. The ACT, however, places every student on the same scale. It becomes a unifying metric, especially for institutions reviewing thousands of applications. This objectivity makes a strong score a powerful equalizer, especially for students from underrepresented or under-resourced backgrounds. It communicates not only ability but effort, particularly when that score reflects targeted preparation. For many, it becomes the academic handshake that opens doors. But preparation requires intention. Passive review doesn't lead to progress. Students often waste time rereading material without understanding what's being asked of them. The ACT isn't about memorization, it's about pattern recognition, process efficiency, and decision-making under pressure. Targeted drills focused on question types, such as comma placement in English or function translation in math, deliver more results than simply going through full tests without review. Quality matters more than quantity when it comes to studying. Each missed question must be dissected, not just marked wrong. Time management is the undercurrent of success across all sections. Students who score highest don't necessarily know every answer. They just maximize the number of questions they can confidently answer. This involves pacing drills and self-monitoring. Learning to identify and skip time-consuming traps prevents burnout and creates room for double-checking. Finishing all questions is not always the goal. Answering the most correct ones within the time frame is. Precision within constraints is the true measure. There's also a psychological aspect. Test anxiety can derail even well-prepared students. Managing stress through breathing exercises, simulated testing environments, and consistent routines helps solidify confidence. The ACT doesn't just test knowledge, it tests composure. Building mental endurance is as vital as academic review. Regular practice under strict timing replicates real conditions and reduces panic on test day. Familiarity builds resilience. The importance of strategy extends beyond the exam itself. Selecting the right test date is part of the process. Students should allow time for retakes if necessary, aligning their testing schedule with application deadlines. Taking the ACT early, ideally in junior year, gives room for adjustment without last-minute pressure. Score reports take time to process, and application season is already stressful. Planning backwards from deadlines helps avoid missed opportunities. Students should also know when to prioritize. If one section consistently drags a composite score down, targeted tutoring or online modules can make a measurable difference. Resources today are diverse: apps, video lessons, adaptive practice tests. The key is consistency. Even 30 focus minutes per day over months outperforms cramming in the final week. Smart preparation is sustainable preparation. A high ACT score doesn't define a student, but it amplifies their application. It signals readiness, discipline, and competitive edge. When paired with solid coursework, extracurriculars, and a compelling personal statement, it rounds out a strong college profile. The ACT is not the finish line, it's leverage. Students who approach it with purpose can transform it from a stressor into a strategic advantage. Achieving a competitive ACT score begins long before test day. The most efficient students understand that improvement lies in tracking performance trends. Taking a diagnostic test early identifies strengths and weaknesses, allowing for a tailored study plan. Without this step, time is wasted reviewing material that doesn't need reinforcement. Focus should immediately shift to areas where performance lags. This strategy ensures study sessions are deliberate and productive, not random or generic. Every minute counts, and diagnostics sharpen the focus. After weaknesses are identified, the next step is to adopt a study system with structure. Random practice yields inconsistent results. Instead, time blocks dedicated to specific sections create a rhythm that builds retention. A Monday, Wednesday, Friday cycle on English and math, with Tuesday through Thursday on reading and science, followed by a weekly full-length practice test, ensures comprehensive coverage. Rotating content prevents burnout and promotes consistency. It's a framework that sustains focus without overwhelming the schedule. Score plateaus are common, but they can be broken. The key is error analysis. Every wrong answer reveals a pattern. Was it a misread question, a careless calculation, or a misunderstood concept? Each mistake type demands a different remedy. Misreading requires more attention to question wording. Calculation errors require slowing down. Conceptual gaps call for targeted review. Tracking these issues in a dedicated notebook or spreadsheet turns mistakes into opportunities. Over time, fewer patterns emerge, and scores begin to climb. The importance of reviewing correct answers is often overlooked. Just because a question was answered correctly doesn't mean the reasoning was sound. It's essential to revisit right answers and confirm that the logic used was valid and repeatable. Guessing correctly doesn't build skill. It builds false confidence. Each correct answer should reinforce a reliable method. Solidifying processes makes performance repeatable under pressure. Testing accommodations are also a factor. Students with documented learning differences may qualify for extended time or alternate formats. These accommodations can level the playing field, but applications require advanced preparation. Documentation must be submitted months before the test date, and approval is not guaranteed. Students who might qualify should speak with school counselors early to explore eligibility. Delays in applying can result in missed opportunities. Retaking the test is not a failure. It's a strategic move. Most students improve their score on the second attempt, especially when the first test is used as a learning experience. Reviewing the score report helps pinpoint which areas require more work. Students can target improvement efficiently instead of starting over. Some colleges superscore, combining the highest section scores across multiple attempts, making strategic retakes a clear advantage. Score submission should also be planned. Some colleges allow score choice, meaning students can send only their best results. Others require all scores. Understanding each school's policy prevents surprises. Submitting scores too early, without knowing policies, can lock students into less than optimal results. Timing and research are as critical as preparation. The ACT isn't just about content, it's about control. From study methods to timing, error tracking to score reporting, the advantage lies in ownership of the process. Success is not accidental. It's engineered through smart choices, consistent effort, and sharp self-awareness. Selecting the right preparation materials can significantly influence ACT outcomes. Not all resources are equal. Official materials from ACT Incorporated offer the most accurate reflection of the test's format and difficulty. These include practice tests, question banks, and the official prep guide. Third-party books vary in quality, with some focusing too much on content and not enough on strategy. Students should vet materials based on clarity, alignment with the actual test, and inclusion of timed practice. Over-reliance on overly difficult or unrealistic content can distort expectations and lower confidence. Online tools provide an edge when used strategically. Platforms with adaptive learning features customize question difficulty based on performance, allowing for efficient, personalized study. Some services track progress over time, highlighting areas for improvement automatically. However, passive use of these tools, like watching videos without practice, yields little benefit. Interactivity is key. Students should engage actively, taking notes, solving along with tutorials, and applying strategies immediately after learning them. Group study sessions can be productive, but only when focused. Collaboration works best when participants hold each other accountable. Peer explanations can clarify difficult concepts, especially in math and science, but sessions must stay goal-oriented. Distractions or unstructured discussions waste time. Setting an agenda before each session and assigning responsibilities, such as who brings practice problems or leads review, ensures effectiveness. Group work supplements individual study, not replaces it. Parental support plays a quiet but important role. Students often perform better when their environment supports structured preparation. This doesn't mean hovering or micromanaging. It means helping establish routines, respecting quiet study time, and encouraging consistent effort. Emotional support also matters. Test prep is stressful, and reassurance during plateaus or setbacks can sustain motivation. Parents can also assist with logistics, signing up for test dates, arranging transportation, and monitoring deadlines. Nutrition, sleep, and exercise are overlooked factors. Cognitive performance depends on physical well-being. Consistent sleep schedules, balanced meals, and regular physical activity sharpen focus and stamina. Cramming until late hours or relying on energy drinks compromises retention and decision-making. Treating the brain like a muscle means conditioning it properly, not just loading it with information. Test prep is mental, but it draws on physical resources. Mock testing under real conditions is critical. Quiet setting, strict timing, no interruptions. Students must simulate the actual experience as closely as possible. Taking the test at the same time of day as the official exam builds familiarity. After each mock test, reviewing not just scores but also timing breakdowns, how long each section took, where time was lost, creates a blueprint for refinement. This isn't about just completing tests, it's about extracting every insight possible. The night before the test is for rest, not review. Last-minute cramming causes more harm than help. A light review of notes, a prepared test day checklist, and an early bedtime form the best strategy. On test day, confidence comes from knowing the work is already done. Arrive early, bring the required ID, calculator, and snacks, and enter with a calm mind. Performance peaks when preparation, strategy, and rest align.